Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for joining me in the record room today. My name is Doug. If you are new here, this will be my first official video of 2024, marking, if I'm not mistaken, my 8th year on YouTube. I have some other videos I'd completed earlier. I hadn't actually been able to film for a few weeks. My old iPhone, for some reason, started putting some white noise or static in the background of any kind of video recording. So finally upgraded it a few days ago. So if you notice a difference in video quality, that's it. I do have some earlier videos that you haven't seen yet though. So this will be a bit of a transitional period as I roll out some new ones, as I share some ones I'd completed earlier. Thanks to everyone who watched my Herman Chin Loy spotlight recently. I'll have some more of those kind of in-depth videos coming up. Hope everyone also had a good Christmas season, good start of the new year. Before I get going, showing some records, I'd like to give a couple of shout outs though. First off, opened up the mail the other day and there was another package of mix CDRs from my good friend DJ Trish in there. Sent me her Christmas 2023 mix. I've mentioned Trish many times on the channel before, long time pillar on here of goodness, of positivity on YouTube, longtime friend. I think maybe the first or second subscriber I ever had. She also sent me two of her first mixes of the new year, I guess, 2024, number 2 and number 1, with her usual eclectic mixes of tunes drawn from her personal CD collection. So thank you once again, DJ Trish. If by some reason you don't know her, do check her out. Also wanted to mention my good friend on here, Zeb, whose channel is called Griot Mere Pictures. I'll put links to all these channels in the description box below. Griot is a term for an African oral storyteller, and that is kind of what his channel focuses on. He's deeply immersed in reggae culture, has done a lot of interviews with well-known figures in reggae, and most recently he put out a mini documentary using some interview footage with his own parents, who were reggae concert promoters in Iowa, USA. Some shots of them discussing their various experiences, trying to push reggae culture forward in the Midwest, in Iowa, promoting shows by the likes of Culture, Burning Spear, and other legends in the 1990s. And that just resonated with me. That was the time I was getting into reggae as well. Saw many of those same acts around the same time. So just a wonderful, very professionally made mini documentary. Deserves more views. Channel deserves more subscribers. Check him out, Griot Mere Pictures. Also want to give a special shout out to my friend over on the other side of Canada. I'm in Vancouver. He's over in the Maritimes. Curtis Young LP lovers, suffering through a massive historic snow dump over there. We had about 10 or 12 inches of snow here a couple of weeks ago. Over there, he's talking about his car is buried under snow, snow up to the roof, and he's so calm, unflappable. We'd be losing our minds over here. So stay safe over there, brother. Take care. We're rooting for you to get through this historic snowstorm. The new year seemed to start on a sad note with a number of unfortunate musical losses. A couple of these hit home to me. Keith Foundation passed away very early in the new year, I believe. Keith Foundation, aka Keith Douglas, had put out the Hi Yo LP back in 2019. I did a video on this when it came out. Keith had been the leader of a reggae harmony trio called Foundation that arose in the 1980s with albums released on Island Records, such as Flames, you're on Island, and also Heart Feel It. But nothing had been heard from them since their final album, One Shirt, back in 1995. I can still vividly recall walking in my local HMV stores around that time, this CD being prominently displayed in the entrance as you walk in the stores. Nothing had been heard from Keith in all those years since, until putting out the Hi Yo album. I'd hoped for more from him, but sadly it was not to be. In a bit of a welcome twist though, he saw my video, appreciated it, the tribute to his music, left a couple of comments on it. I gather he maybe wasn't online too often, or wasn't too tech savvy, but he did leave a couple of comments here and there. I'd hoped to hear more from him, but sadly it was not to be. And then the big news just the other day, Aston Family Man Barrett, bass player of Bob Marley and the Wailers, architect of their sound that propelled Bob Marley to international global superstardom, passed away in Miami, Florida, in an ironic twist at the very hospital Bob had stayed in at the very end of his life. Barrett, Family Man, so nicknamed due to his large number of children, somewhere in the neighborhood of 40, I believe, had started out in partnership with his brother Carlton on drums. They formed the rhythmic core of a group called the Hippie Boys. The Hippie Boys would then be picked up by Lee Perry and become his second generation of Upsetters, his backing band. And as such, they soon began working with Bob Marley and the Wailers, the two striking an immediate chord together in partnership on those pivotal recordings that Bob and the original Wailers did with Lee Perry producing. So potent was their musical chemistry that when Bob Marley, Peter Tosh, and Bunny Wailer left Lee Perry, they took the nucleus of the Upsetters with them, Aston Barrett and his brother Carlton on drums, to form the new iteration of the Wailers. And as such, they remained on board throughout Bob's career on Island Records, beginning with Catch a Fire. Of course, Aston Barrett right there, soon tasked with becoming the musical director for Bob's music, entrusted with covering the arrangements, doing some songwriting, as well as laying down his own inimitable bass lines. Songs nearly everyone in the world probably has heard to this point would not have taken shape in the way they did without Aston Barrett. And Barrett remained loyal to Bob for the rest of Bob's life. Family Man would do a little bit of music producing on his own, do a bit of solo work when he found time. I was just spinning this compilation from Heartbeat Records when I heard the news, Cobra style, containing vocals, instrumentals, and dubs that he had released on his own FAMS label. This is a Heartbeat compilation from the late 1990s, 1999. There's another more recent one on Dub Store Records of similar Family Man productions called Soul Constitution, I believe. I do not have that one. And after Bob's death, Family Man continued to shepherd the Wailers through various iterations moving forward into present times. I think remaining as their bass player until 2012. He launched a lawsuit to recover what he felt was owed to him from those legendary Wailers recordings of the 1970s, which was dismissed, reportedly bankrupting him, unfortunately, and in recent years had been suffering from medical issues, which ultimately claimed his life just a couple of days ago as I record this. My longtime local reggae radio DJ, George Barrett, a relative of Aston and Carlton Barrett. He's been on the air continuously in my area playing reggae on a community radio station since about 1976, 1977. I still tune into him every Saturday nights. He's been on the air continuously promoting reggae ever since, and a cousin reportedly of the Barretts. I recall seeing an interview with George once where he said one time the Wailers were in town for a Bob Marley concert, would have been the late 70s in Vancouver, and he was reunited with was either Aston or Carlton, who asked him what he was doing in Vancouver. There was nothing here, but sadly missed a man who, without whom reggae would be very different than what we know it now. On to some recent dub arrivals that came in at the tail end of last year, December, I think. Haven't got anything new yet this year. The first two are releases from the latter part of 2023 that came out through Winston Edwards' Studio 16 label in the UK, can always be relied on for nicely done reissues at an affordable price. The first one is an apocryphal dub LP that first surfaced in the UK in the mid-1970s on the Click label, a label formed to exploit a gap in the reggae market caused by the temporary bankruptcy of Trojan Records, and credited only as Bag o' Wire, no artist credit, but the producer was Sidney Crooks, leader of vocal group The Pioneers, very popular in the UK. However, the music on this LP is not Pioneers music, seems to be a grab bag of tracks sourced from different places. The thumbprint of reggae uber producer Bunny Lee on several of them. Bag o' Wire, the first track, Rockfort, being a dub to the rhythm of Johnny Clark's None Shall Escape the Judgment in This Time, produced by Bunny Lee, with a further track being Johnny's Move Out of Babylon, also produced by Bunny Lee. There's another track, the title track, though, is a version of the Burning Spear Marcus Garvey rhythm, very popular track around that time. Bag o' Wire is a somewhat mysterious, possibly mythical figure in Jamaican 20th century history. He is reviled as a Judas figure who betrayed influential Jamaican leader Marcus Garvey, who in the early 20th century preached a doctrine of black self-determination and a return to the African homeland of Africa. More on Marcus Garvey can be found in the book Philosophies and Opinions of Marcus Garvey, and decades later, Garvey's theories were a huge influence on reggae music, on Rastafarianism, most famously giving a name to Burning Spear's breakthrough album, Marcus Garvey, and the lyrics Bag o' Wire, Catch a Fire can be commonly heard across many reggae songs, referring to the historical figure of Bag o' Wire, who is reputed to have betrayed Marcus Garvey to the authorities, causing him to retire from public life in disgrace before being acclaimed as a national hero after his death. I've seen comments from older Jamaicans who claim to have seen the real Bag of Wire around the streets of Kingston. Apparently he used to salvage bits of scrap metal, wires, carry them in a sack over his shoulder, hence the name Bag of Wire. Whether that's true or not, I cannot say, but definitely a mythical figure who is reviled as a traitor, and gave his name to this dub LP, featuring a lot of smooth mixing, a lot of very deft panning from channel to channel, some harmonica overdubs on several tracks, and many of the same rhythms also appeared on another dub LP, Dub Everlasting, mixed by Errol Brown, but differing mixes in that case. So somewhat mysterious dub album from the first wave of the dub LP's popularity in the UK and overseas. Nice to have that in the collection. The second dub LP, similarly mysterious origins. This time it appeared in the late 1970s in the US on the Clock Tower label, formed by Brad Osborne, an expatriate Jamaican who had started up a record shop in Brooklyn, I believe, called Brad's Record Den. Used to be frequented by the likes of hip-hop founders like Grandmaster Flash, Kool Herc, and others would dig through the crates there for records. And Brad also started up a record label, Clock Tower Records, using his connections with producers like Bunny Lee, with Lee Perry back in Jamaica, releasing their music in the US, often with overdubs that he would put on himself in Brooklyn, sometimes at Wacky's studio, to make his product a little different, a little unique, not able to be found anywhere else. And one of these was King of Dub, one of several dub LPs he put out of tracks sourced from his connections on the island. Some more Johnny Clark tunes can be found on here. Again, that thumbprint of Bunny Lee, the reggae uber producer. First track on here is a dub of the Barry Brown song, Fittest of the Fittest, I believe. Also a Bunny Lee production originally. Evocative cover art by reggae cover art legend Jamal Pete. And this one appears laterally on the 12 Star label, which is related to Winston Edwards' Studio 16 imprint. This is King Stubby's studio, their sound in full effect, full fire and brimstone dub thunder going on in this one, and very nice sound quality on here, remastered by Colin Young, I believe his name is, CY Audio, maybe even superior to the original if Discogs comments are to be believed, but definitely very nice sound quality on that one, and great dubs. The last one is one I did have had arrived the last time I did one of these kind of videos. Had not kind of listened to it sufficiently to include it, but it is Big Dub from Glenn Brown, release 2023 release from Raka Shaka Records out of Japan. It had earlier come out 2009, 2010 or 11, around there. They put it out as a CD and digital release. However, just now appearing for the first time on vinyl. Dubs from reggae producer Glenn Brown. I did one of my very early videos on him when he passed away. The dub side of Glenn Brown was captured on the seminal Blood and Fire release, Termination dub in the 1990s, a very early release from them, featuring many of the rhythm tracks that Glenn Brown is associated with, and further cuts of many of those rhythms appear on this one. Not really a surprise. Glenn Brown is on record that was as saying when he would bring his tapes to King Tubby's, he would instruct him to do several different mixes of each one. Glenn Brown, famous for stretching his tracks out, reusing them over and over again to get the most out of them. So he would instruct King Tubby to mix each one in a little bit different style to show the versatility of the rhythm tracks. And that's what you get on this one. The late Glenn Brown, they call him the Rhythm Master. Excellent dub set from Shaka Records out of Japan. So that's all I've got for you today, guys. I don't want this one to get too long. Hope everyone's doing well out there, and stay tuned for the next video. Cheers.